The hybridization that occurred in certain genetic lineages led to a more efficient system of storing oxygen in the body for the purpose of accessing higher frequency domains and information. The oxygenation of the body is of paramount importance in speeding up the vibrational resonance of the physical form and having the idea of not exactly two hearts, but more chambers in the heart than you have that makes it function as if it's doubled, allows for a more efficient distribution of oxygen throughout the system, and also a greater amount of oxygen throughout the system that then increases the probability of raising the frequency to the exact pitch required for easier connection to higher frequency realms of consciousness and other dimensions of experience.
So just like when Daryl does deep breathing in order to make the connection with you, the idea is that she has a much higher level of oxygen in her system than we do?
Yes, and this is also why we have mentioned from time to time that there is more oxygen on our planet in the atmosphere. Not a lot, but enough that it allows for the stabilization of that frequency to be common.
Okay. Is there a way that you can support elementals in this time of planetary transition, since they seem to have an important role in keeping the Earth in balance?
Well, in a sense, the idea of taking on the role from your side of keeping the Earth in balance and doing the things that will help stabilize the environment in positive ways, increasing the idea of the natural world and making those connections from your side will be something that will also allow them more opportunity to do so from their side. So the whole idea of making the connection with them and taking actions in your reality that are more representative of enhancing the environment, stabilizing the environment in a more natural way, is what you can do from your side while they do what they do from their side. It's not entirely up to them. This has to be a relationship. It has to be, in a sense, a 50-50 proposition.
It just occurred to me that the connection that elementals experience with Earth and nature is a profoundly deep love affair, in a sense.
Yes.
And that the more that you love Earth and you love all the elements of Earth, the more you are putting yourself in a state that's similar to what an elemental might experience.
Exactly. And therefore, like we have said with regard to extraterrestrial contact, you have to meet them halfway. You have to bring your vibrational frequency at least much closer to the level that they operate on in order for you to perceive them and in order for you to interact with them in the ways that will allow for the acceleration of the balance of the natural world of Earth.
Now, one person had an experience where they were with a grove of trees and suddenly shifted to a parallel reality where they realized that the forest is inhabited with tree people. In other words, the people of the forest are the trees, and that they are a community that has very strong bonds, and they're also very welcoming of the human consciousness.
That's why we say that the trees are, in a sense, the ambassadors between humans and the natural world, because they're connected to the idea of physical humans, they're connected to the idea of the elementals, and in a sense they act as the go-between. So they're always welcoming you into their reality to act as, well, for lack of a better term, brokers between the two different civilizations of human and elemental. That's the common bond. That's the common frequency. That's the common interface, are the trees.
So they experience each other as individual consciousnesses
And collective, both.
and a collective at the same time. And they have young people and old people, and it's just it's a community of being.
It is. But again, when you say young people and old people, we understand what you mean in terms of time and the growth of trees.
Yeah.
But don't assign a human perspective to that, because they don't see it exactly in that way. Remember that they can perceive things in parallel realities in multiple dimensions a little bit differently than you can. And the idea of young and old has a particular perspective to them, but it's not exactly the human perspective.
And yet you need the older trees in a forest in order to share their energy with the younger trees.
Yes, yes. But again, all we're simply saying is the terminology that you're using, the definitions that you're using, have a particular human bent to them that is not experienced exactly in the same way by the tree consciousness.
And one last thing about trees, that they seem to have a very generous spirit in general.
Yes.
And their genetics are actually more complex than ours.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So they are actually highly evolved beings in many respects.
Yes. In fact, the very idea that they are apparently to you immobile requires the extra genetics and the extra abilities, because they can't move away from things like humans can. Therefore, they have to have more adaptability to a variety of situations, hence a more complex genetic structure.
And they communicate with each other chemically, so they let each other know that there's a danger, or all kinds of communication that happens.
Yes, yes.
So it's very sophisticated, and yet it's hidden to human consciousness unless you shift your vibration to be able to perceive what is actually happening.
Yes, but it's not hidden on purpose. It is simply the idea of the limitations that human consciousness has placed on itself, because long ago, when humans were much more connected in their understanding of their expression of nature, it wasn't hidden at all. It was understood very clearly.
So that would be Native Americans, Lemurians, those beings were much more
early Atlanteans, yes. And not leaving out the idea of people in other parts of your planet, because many of them also had a more natural way of relating to nature.
Yes, I think almost every continent had its share of shamanic beings that were connecting with nature.
Yes. And it was much more common in those societies to understand those things as natural.
Now, one person has a boa constrictor, and he wants to know how to communicate with that being, and if it's possible to create a relationship and an emotional connection between a reptilian being, and I'm talking about actual reptile, and human.
Well, of course it is. So again, many of the things we've already said will apply as well. The idea of the deep emotional bond, the idea of using imagery instead of words. The reptile will also assist you in understanding exactly how to frame those images, how to frame those emotions in its context, in its quote-unquote language.
So you're basically saying, be the snake, and then you will know how to talk to the snake.
In essence, yes, and the snake will help you if it really senses a deep willingness and a deep bond in your consciousness that wishes to do so. So again, this is why it's so important to have that deep, loving, vibrational, harmonic bond, because then the being will sense that you really desire a connection and will help you with that connection by sending the imagery and the feelings as well that will help you understand how to focus in on its particular way of creating a communication.
Okay, I think that's helpful. Let's see. I'm going to switch over to a question having to do with the precursors.
Yes.
And we wanted to give you an opportunity to clarify the idea of whether precursors were actually born here on the planet or whether they are actually extraterrestrial.
We understand that there may have been a slip in translation when we first talked about that concept. And this is why we have recently begun to talk about people born on the planet who have similar hybridized genetics to precursors as being preparers rather than calling themselves precursors. Precursor, by definition, is something that comes before something else. And therefore, since you're already on the planet, you can't be precursors because you're not coming to the planet, you're on the planet. But you can be preparers. And the preparers can exhibit some of the same vibrational frequencies as the precursors. But precursors are born off the planet. They are hybrids from off the planet, are not born on Earth. Who is born on Earth are preparers. We apologize for any confusion in translation.
Did you say your ship is called Nexus? Someone...
No, it's not called Nexus, but the idea is that it can use nexus points in order for its ability to shift location to location. In a sense, any ship that uses that technology can be called a Nexus-style ship.
And was the USFO that crashed at Roswell just as alive as that?
No. Different kind of technology altogether, a little bit more akin to your understanding of technology.
Do stories and fictional universes actually exist in their own right? And we are sort of seeing them and tapping into their energy when we read something or think about them?
They can. Now, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily all experienced in the same kind of physical way that you experience your reality, but that doesn't mean that they're any less real. So when we say that they're all real in one way, shape, or form, you have to understand that that may include a multitude of dimensions, including the spirit realm. So they're not necessarily physical in the way that you know it, but they are real. You are tapping into a real reality on some level of consciousness. Now, again, some of them may be absolutely the way you imagine them, and some of them may be a little bit different. But somewhere along the line, all the attributes are real, whether they all belong in one reality or several.
Okay. One individual, when they were a child, they dreamed that they basically visited inner Earth. And they felt that they were being teased by adults about this idea.
Yes.
Is there an actual inner Earth culture or an inner Earth reality?
Yes, but it's not actually physically in your Earth. It's in another dimension. Many people may mistake the idea that it's inside your Earth physically because of how they may arrive there by going through different portals that sometimes can be underground or in caves or what have you. But without knowing it, they may have actually literally shifted into a different dimensional reality and still assume that they're on the Earth or in the Earth that they were originally on, which they're not until they go back through the portal and come back out onto their original reality, so to speak. But the idea is that there are other dimensions that are perceived as being inside physical objects such as a planet, but they're not literally there necessarily. They can be, but they're not literally there in your case. So people that find themselves in what they perceive to be inner Earth are actually in another dimension that they've shifted to without necessarily knowing it.
And can you tell us anything about what it's like there?
Well, there are many different kinds of places there. There isn't just one place that people go to. There are shells within shells within shells within shells of dimensions within dimensions within dimensions within dimensions. So it just depends on what frequency you entered the portal in as to where you wind up.
And also what's relevant to your life theme in terms of what information you receive
Yes.
about that environment?
Yes, so there isn't one place I can tell you about.
In fact, aren't most of these things sort of geared towards what will excite us on a deep level based on our own unique?
Well, generally speaking, or they're certainly geared toward the idea of the kind of information that you agreed to participate in the theme of exploration on Earth.
And that's why people have so many different kinds of experiences, because it's all uniquely tailored
Yes,
for their consciousness.
of course it is. How could it be otherwise?
Right? Yes, because you're doing it. This individual is very excited about Atlantis, and
Yes.
he wanted to know, or she, um, some hot spots to go to tap into Atlantean energy and give themselves the opportunity to receive information there.
Well, certainly the Bahamas, the areas you know as Cuba, the area you know as the Yucatan, and even across the sea, the area that you know as Crete. Some areas in Spain, some areas in the area you call North Africa and ancient Egypt do still have some Atlantean remnants to the ideas of survivors that went there. So any of those places can be energy centers that you can gravitate yourself to based on what you're attracted to do or experience, that can allow you, as a permission slip, more efficacy in tapping into Atlantean information.
And I know the Bimini Road, many people think that it's underwater.
Yes,
And you
yes.
can actually swim along and look at the Bimini Road.
Yes, well, it wasn't originally a road, it's a collapsed wall.
Oh. Yeah, because it just looks like these huge concrete blocks
Yes.
that stretch on for a long period of time, and you can swim along it.
Yes. Well, if you look on a map that shows you what that area looked like when the water level was lower during the Ice Age, the ocean level was lower, you will see what the actual outline of that main Atlantean island was. And you can see more clearly when the water is lower, where other locations also allowed for cities to be built. But again, remember, even though many people depict the concept of ancient Atlantis as looking sort of Grecian, the true architecture of Atlantis is more the idea of Mayan or Aztec.
And it's quite rural in the sense of the society itself, yes?
Well, in a sense, yes, there were some main city parts, but for the most part, yes, the cities were quite open. There was quite a lot of rural countryside that surrounded them and was utilized for farming and different purposes.
Will a time come where we'll actually be able to, in a sense, see, because our vibration is higher? Like, can you see Atlantis
Yes.
from your vibrational level?
Absolutely. That's why we're telling you the architecture isn't what most people think.
That's so interesting. So we're capable of achieving that in our lifetime, yes?
Yes, of course.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so this question has to do with interacting with different versions of a person. And does each version represent a different, distinct soul that you're looking at when you...
If you're talking about the idea of one single body, then no. Doesn't represent different souls. It represents different aspects of the same soul.
Okay. And then when people are a different version because they're in my reality that I prefer, does that different version depend on me, or is there something that they do? So does this mean that if I experience something that I view as negative, it's up to me to change my vibration, which will then give me a different version of that person?
That can happen, yes. But the idea is that you're taking some information from them in your telepathic contact, and you're rendering out of your own energy, out of your own consciousness, a reasonable facsimile, not only of what you're getting from them, but also what you're taking from your own belief systems and what you need to see. So yes, very often changing your frequency, coming from a different place, will allow you to, quote unquote, manufacture a different version of them, because you've shifted to another reality where there already is a different version of them, because now you're coming from a different place, a different frequency, a different reality.
Yeah, occasionally you will actually hear of somebody having a negative interaction with someone and then going into a meditative state, communicating with that person on a higher level in a sense, and balancing their own energy in relation to what was communicated to them, and then going back and reconnecting with the physical person and finding that their behavior has also changed.
Correct, but the truth is their behavior hasn't changed because the person they're dealing with is actually a different person.
Okay, so they're getting another version of that person.
Because they're in a different parallel version of Earth. Yes.
It's very interesting because it really does shift the focus back to your own personal responsibility, but at the same time, you're not to blame for other people's negative behavior, or the fact that you see another person's negative behavior does not mean that's a one-on-one reflection of your own negativity.
Correct. The issues that other people may have that you attract into your life may have nothing to do with your issues, but there's a reason why they're there. It might be because you need to help them. It might be because you need to act as a sounding board in some way or a reflection to them for their issues, whether they know it or not. But generally speaking, though it can sometimes be a one-to-one reflection, it isn't always. You have to have the discernment to be able to tell what's actually going on and why that person has been attracted or at least allowed by you into your life.
Yes, and the idea is what you do with the transmission or the receipt of information from that person.
Absolutely.
It puts it back in your court that what you do with it will determine the
Yes.
effect that you get out of it.
Yes, because no matter how the situation originated, whether it was created from negativity, no matter what anyone else's experience or opinion is or perspective is of the situation, you still get to determine how the situation will affect you because you're the one affecting yourself with your relationship and definition of that particular situation. So you can always get a benefit no matter what happens, depending on what you choose to do in relation to that circumstance.
And when people die at the same time, like in a plane crash or something like that, do they
Yes.
have an awareness of the other people who are transitioning at the same time that they do?
Sometimes, not always. Again, it depends upon their vibrational path.
Yeah, it's just so interesting, like that a whole group of people would get on a plane and when it crashes, they're all transitioning simultaneously.
Yes. Well, it's not really, if you stop and think about it, any more mysterious than all the people getting on the plane because they happen to be going to the same city. It's just that they're going to a city they didn't necessarily realize they were going to.
Yeah. That's intense.
Well, again, it's no more mysterious than the kind of orchestration that happens when you get on any particular kind of a device. So again, the orchestration of getting a certain amount of people on a certain vehicle to go to a certain city is an orchestration. This is no different.
And it's also the people may not be aware that they've chosen that, but at some level, they've taken the exit in a sense.
Yes.
For whatever their specific purpose was or reasoning
Yes.
was, or it was their time.
Whether they know it or not, they have bought a ticket to that particular destination in a coordinated orchestration with the others. Those that haven't, you will find, as you often hear, will find themselves not necessarily getting on that plane for one reason or another synchronistically.
Yeah, this certainly brings back memories of the 9/11 situation. And
Yes. And again, none of this excuses the perpetration of these particular kinds of events, but people will take advantage of whatever they need to take advantage of for a variety of reasons. And remember that sometimes those reasons are a higher level of themselves may be willing to go out that way to help the people that remain behind realize how to make sure things like that aren't necessarily opportunities for people in the future ever again. Because there are many ways that you can leave physical reality. It does not have to be through the idea of disaster or terrorism or anything like that. You will find a way when it's your time to find a way. But the idea can be that certainly those kinds of ways don't need to be the ways if you feel that that is too disruptive to the psyche that allows you to find a peaceful situation in your reality.
So, is there anything we can do to consciously choose the way we die instead of it just randomly happening when the time is right?
Well, yes, of course there is. There are several ways. But the idea, of course, is you don't necessarily have to pay attention to that, or you don't really have to necessarily know about that. If there is purpose, then yes, you can know. A well-known story on your planet comes from an individual known as Cochise, who knew the exact time of his death and predicted it. But again, it's not always important that you know that. If there is purpose to it, you will know. But again, the only way it's most likely you will know if you need to know is by, guess what? Following the formula.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because any kind of information that is truly relevant for you to know about on your journey, on your path, will come to you when you follow the formula, because the formula leaves nothing relevant out.
For example, like with Steve Irwin, he was definitely following his passion when he was swimming with that stingray.
Yes.
And yet that turned out to be the way that he was going to exit the planet.
And many people will choose to do that while they're doing something they love to do. In a sense, they're, quote unquote, dying happy.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a good way to approach it then. Do what excites you the most with integrity and following all the other elements of the formula. And if it is your time, that will, at least you will go out doing something you love doing.
Absolutely. If you want to put it in those pragmatic terms, that can work. Again, please do remember that when you do transition, you will understand exactly why you may have chosen that path, and it'll be perfectly fine.
And so energetically and mechanically speaking, what does it mean to be grounded or ungrounded?
Well, again, in true alignment with yourself is grounding. Misalignment, being out of alignment with yourself, is ungrounding, for lack of a better term, to put it in the most simplistic way.
So in a sense, when you follow a shamanic path, do you need to keep a foot in both worlds, so to speak?
As long as you find that it is not your time to transition, then automatically yes, because any shaman or anyone in balance acts like a link or a bridge between the physical and non-physical realities. So yes, you're automatically a bridge. Therefore, one foot in each realm is exactly what needs to happen.
And that's a skill unto itself.
Yes, it is. It's an art like any.
And can you elaborate on why Willa has two hearts?
The hybridization that occurred in certain genetic lineages led to a more efficient system of storing oxygen in the body for the purpose of accessing higher frequency domains and information. The oxygenation of the body is of paramount importance in speeding up the vibrational resonance of the physical form and having the idea of not exactly two hearts, but more chambers in the heart than you have that makes it function as if it's doubled, allows for a more efficient distribution of oxygen throughout the system, and also a greater amount of oxygen throughout the system. That then increases the probability of raising the frequency to the exact pitch required for easier connection to higher frequency realms of consciousness and other dimensions of experience.
So just like when Daryl does deep breathing in order to make the connection with you, the idea is that she has a much higher level of oxygen in her system than we do?
Yes, and this is also why we have mentioned from time to time that there is more oxygen on our planet in the atmosphere. Not a lot, but enough that it allows for the stabilization of that frequency to be common.
Okay. Is there a way that you can support elementals in this time of planetary transition, since they seem to have an important role in keeping the Earth in balance?
Well, in a sense, the idea of taking on the role from your side of keeping the Earth in balance and doing the things that will help stabilize the environment in positive ways, increasing the idea of the natural world and making those connections from your side will be something that will also allow them more opportunity to do so from their side. So the whole idea of making the connection with them and taking actions in your reality that are more representative of enhancing the environment, stabilizing the environment in a more natural way, is what you can do from your side while they do what they do from their side. It's not entirely up to them. This has to be a relationship. It has to be, in a sense, a 50-50 proposition.
It just occurred to me that the connection that elementals experience with Earth and nature is a profoundly deep love affair, in a sense.
Yes.
And that the more that you love Earth and you love all the elements of Earth, the more you are putting yourself in a state that's similar to what an elemental might experience.
Exactly. And therefore, like we have said with regard to extraterrestrial contact, you have to meet them halfway. You have to bring your vibrational frequency at least much closer to the level that they operate on in order for you to perceive them and in order for you to interact with them in the ways that will allow for the acceleration of the balance of the natural world of Earth.
Now, one person had an experience where they were with a grove of trees and suddenly shifted to a parallel reality where they realized that the forest is inhabited with tree people. In other words, the people of the forest are the trees, and that they are a community that has very strong bonds, and they're also very welcoming of the human consciousness.
That's why we say that the trees are, in a sense, the ambassadors between humans and the natural world, because they're connected to the idea of physical humans, they're connected to the idea of the elementals, and in a sense they act as the go-between. So they're always welcoming you into their reality to act as, well, for lack of a better term, brokers between the two different civilizations of human and elemental. That's the common bond. That's the common frequency. That's the common interface, are the trees.
So they experience each other as individual consciousnesses.
And collective, both.
And a collective at the same time. And they have young people and old people, and it's just it's a community of being.
It is. But again, when you say young people and old people, we understand what you mean in terms of time and the growth of trees. Yeah. But don't assign a human perspective to that, because they don't see it exactly in that way. Remember that they can perceive things in parallel realities in multiple dimensions a little bit differently than you can. And the idea of young and old has a particular perspective to them, but it's not exactly the human perspective.
And yet you need the older trees in a forest in order to share their energy with the younger trees.
Yes, yes. But again, all we're simply saying is the terminology that you're using, the definitions that you're using, have a particular human bent to them that is not experienced exactly in the same way by the tree consciousness.
And one last thing about trees, that they seem to have a very generous spirit in general.
Yes.
And their genetics are actually more complex than ours.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So they are actually highly evolved beings in many respects.
Yes. In fact, the very idea that they are apparently to you immobile requires the extra genetics and the extra abilities, because they can't move away from things like humans can. Therefore, they have to have more adaptability to a variety of situations, hence a more complex genetic structure.
And they communicate with each other chemically, so they let each other know that there's danger or all kinds of communication
Yes,
that happens.
yes, yes.
So it's very sophisticated, and yet it's hidden to human consciousness unless you shift your vibration to be able to perceive what is actually happening.
Yes, but it's not hidden on purpose. It is simply the idea of the limitations that human consciousness has placed on itself, because long ago, when humans were much more connected in their understanding of their expression of nature, it wasn't hidden at all. It was understood very clearly.
So that would be Native Americans, Lemurians, those beings were much more.
Early Atlanteans, yes. And not leaving out the idea of people in other parts of your planet, because many of them also had a more natural way of relating to nature.
Yes, I think almost every continent had its share of shamanic beings
Yes.
that were connecting with
Yes,
nature.
yes, yes. And it was much more common in those societies to understand those things as natural.
Now, one person has a boa constrictor and he wants to know how to communicate with that being and if it's possible to create a relationship and an emotional connection between a reptilian being, and I'm talking about actual reptile, and human.
Well, of course it is. So again, many of the things we've already said will apply as well. The idea of the deep emotional bond, the idea of using imagery instead of words. The reptile will also assist you in understanding exactly how to frame those images, how to frame those emotions in its context, in its quote-unquote language.
So you're basically saying be the snake, and then you will know how to talk to the snake.
In essence, yes.
Good day, Bashar.
And you, good day.
Crop formations.
Crop formations, yes.
Yes. For about 15 years, I've been researching both.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yes, it is. Physical research as well as spiritual research.
Yes, yes. The two go hand in hand because there is nothing non-spiritual about physical reality.
That's right.
Oh, that was a big lesson for some.
It, the energy I have consciously chosen to study along that path, and pretty much as soon as I got into it,
Yes.
And somebody here earlier mentioned the Arcturians.
Yes.
What I believe is, well, through synchronicities, Arcturians have played a role and have
All the beings in the Enneagram have played a role, as well as other spirit beings, other guides, other levels of dimensional consciousness, and even the consciousness of your own world, individually and collectively, have played a part in the creation of that language, of that multidimensional imagery that aids and assists you in being reflective of who you really are, or at least giving you a hint and a clue of the path to follow to discover yourselves.
yes. And that was actually my next question was,
Well, thank you for allowing us to answer it ahead of time.
thank you, my involvement in the studying and maybe dissemination of that information. Arcturians, a particular role they play, why is it the synchronicities are coming from?
It's a stabilizing energy, an aligning energy that allows one more ease of alignment with the true core frequencies of their being. That's what the Arcturus energy plays a part in doing.
And I heard you mention earlier, they're not physical. They are
Not as you understand physicality, no.
okay, more of a consciousness.
Yes.
Okay, that's question number one.
All right.
Was basically reminding me consciously of what I think I already know unconsciously.
Thank you.
So I'll continue to do that work because that brings me my highest excitement.
Yes.
Second and last, I was recently in Mount Shasta.
All right.
While I was there was a group of about 150 people from South America who were there for what we would call a contact.
Yes.
And I believe I saw craft
Oh, all right.
that was associated with that contact.
All right.
There was a specific name that I was unaware of and was wondering if you knew anything about this particular
Are you referring
energy?
to Yael?
It's actually Antarel or Antarel. I'm unaware of this name, yet a researcher friend of mine, Paula Harris, was there, witnessed it, has written a story since. And the name hasn't rang a bell. I don't know what consciousness this is, what energy it is, and very curious because I've never heard
It
of
is
it
an
before.
offshoot extension of the hybrid civilization that will be one of the first to have open contact with your civilization.
Okay.
Does that help you?
That absolutely helps me.
All right.
Thank you. That's all that I have for you.
All right, thank you. Then that's all I have for you.
There you go. Thank you.
Good day, Bashar.
And you good day.
First of all, let me thank you for all your teachings, and I just want to tell you that I appreciate you so
All
much.
right. Well, we thank you for the co-creation.
My highest excitement seems to be lately regarding psychedelics,
All right.
plant
Yes,
teachers,
Yes.
and I am curious about the big picture on ayahuasca and DMT and,
Yes.
and the difference thereof.
Well, they are guides and specific frequencies to allow you to experience altered states that give you an understanding of what kind of vibrational states you can come from in life, what kind of vibrational states you can recreate within yourself without necessarily requiring the teacher of the plant all the time. They are opportunities to be able to hone your senses, to be more able to perceive things that were heretofore invisible, that are all around you all the time, to allow your senses to peer into other dimensions and begin to break down the veils and the barriers between what you consider to be physical reality and other levels of dimensional reality. That's what they're there to do, to remind you of your connection to source, your connection to spirit, to allow you to function more holistically as a human being, as a part of nature, an expression of nature on the earth, and to allow you to perceive that you are connected to much more than you may think. But once they teach you this, the idea is also that you don't really need them any longer and that you can recreate those states within yourself anytime you so desire.
Awesome.
Yes. Oh, well put.
Any
Way to sum up.
any danger I should be aware of while using
The
this?
only idea you might consider to be dangerous, which isn't really, is that you have to be prepared to face whatever it is they are going to show you about yourself and any fears you may be harboring. But it's not really dangerous. It might just feel like a wild ride.
Well, one of my fears is that I may be given false information and
By the plant?
yes.
You can't be given false information by the plant. What you can do, however, is that if you're holding on to certain belief systems that cause the information to be filtered in a way that's misaligned with what really would resonate with you, then you can certainly have that experience. But always look to yourself to see that you're the one that's going to be coloring that information. The information from the plant cannot be false.
Great.
Does that help?
Yes.
Always bring it back to yourself. Always take responsibility for what it is you are perceiving. It doesn't matter if someone else actually even has an intention to deceive you or falsify anything. Always take responsibility for your part in the co-creation, and you will always be able to unerringly guide yourself back to a center point, no matter what kind of information you are being fed. Yes?
Yes.
You can see through any illusion, the more transparent to yourself you become. You can
Yes.
see through any illusion, the more transparent to yourself you become. This is why the greatest sages, the greatest masters, and the greatest teachers, and the greatest literature on your planet has for centuries boiled down the ultimate answer, the ultimate idea to a simple 2 words. Know thyself.
Yes.
And then you will understand any reflections you may encounter, because you will understand it is all reflections. And if something is out of alignment, look to yourself first. Yes?
Yes, and that is my intention to.
All right. Then if it is your intention, allow it to flow out through your actual actions. Remember, true knowing is synonymous with behavior. The things you know are true, you just do. If I ask you to walk across a room, you don't sit there and go, well, I think I can. Well, wait, I believe I can walk across the room. No, you just walk. The things you know are true, you just do. Action and knowing are synonymous. So if your behavior doesn't exhibit it, that means you don't quite know it yet. So keep digging.
Yes. So part of my interest with these plant medicines is
Yes.
that I wish to help my sister to come out of the downward spiral that she's been in for 25 years.
All right, but again, you heard us talk to someone else about doing your best to be an example of what she may choose, but you have to allow her to choose her path, even if it's negative. She may not be ready to take you up on a different course of action. If she is, she will. But the only way she will is if you simply provide the opportunity by being the best example you can be of someone who, if they choose that path, reflects the joy that she may in her heart wish to have, but again, may be too afraid to jump on, maybe too afraid to act on. So if you can allow yourself to impart information that you have learned from the plants in a way that will allow her to not be afraid to get in touch with her own deep-seated fear-based beliefs and allow her to let them go, then she may walk that path side by side. But if she chooses not to, there is not much you can do to change her mind. Do remember, however, there is never any reason in any way, shape, or form to despair. You are all eternal, infinite, indestructible beings. If it doesn't happen now, it'll happen sometime. Because you have all of infinity to explore who you are. And by your own definition, infinity never ends. Yes?
That's very reassuring.
Well, that's just the way things are. Does that help you?
Yes, it does very much. Thank you so much.
You are so very much welcome.
One more thing.
Yes.
What is this about triple numbers and meaningful numbers like 911 or 322?
Many people will use the idea of numerics to create signs and symbols and road markers so that when they experience the synchronicity of those numbers coming up, it will be like a sign that you are in the correct vibration and in alignment with your path.
Even like 911 is usually has negative connotations.
Well, you've given it one, but you can also recognize it has a positive one. Think of the idea of the phoenix rising from the ashes, yes?
I did not know that was related to 911.
I am saying it is related to the incident that you are relating 9/11 to.
Oh, okay.
So the idea is you can recognize, again, as we said earlier, that something can be generated from a fear-based belief. Something can be created. A situation can absolutely be manifested from a negative point of view. That doesn't mean that you have to use those symbols in a negative way yourself, just because other people may relate to it that way. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So give yourself an opportunity to recognize 11 is a power number, a gateway to higher dimensions of higher consciousness, and 9 is the number of the completion of a cycle. So if you're completing an old cycle that activity, that incident represents, then you can take that as the beginning of a new cycle that begins with 11, which means you're going up a level, you're going up a dimension, you're going up a notch, and you're going up in vibration, so that if you change the way you go about doing things and relating to other people on your planet, then such things will never have to happen again in the negative context that they happened before.
Wow. I have arrived to this venue this morning at exactly 9:11.
All right. Well, you see,
and
there's positive benefit in that.
I even had to go around the block once because I missed the entrance.
You missed nothing.
No, I mean, when I came the second time, it was exactly 9/11.
Yes. So the idea of those numerical symbols can, in their most fundamental sense, simply represent perfect timing. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Does this help?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It helps a lot.
Hi, Bashar.
And you good day.
Good day to you. Andy Esasani. I've been looking forward to speaking with you in this moment.
All right. And
And-
through what story will you be doing so?
Well, it's going to start with a Father's Day story.
Father's
And-
Day story.
Yes, because it is Father's Day on Earth.
Yes, we
And
understand.
I was wondering, do you guys have those days?
No.
No, you don't.
Every day.
Every day is a celebration.
Yes.
Okay.
We do not delineate the idea of special days in that way specifically.
In what way do you?
We don't.
You just don't.
There are recognitions of certain things that happened in what you would call our history that are noted for their particular vibrational resonance, but we don't surround them with the kinds of rituals that you do. We simply experience that vibration and move forward.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to express that since we're talking about stories, I wanted to share with you how my dad would say that. He'd say,
All right.
I'd tell you a story. Because he likes pirate stuff, so he would say that. So I just wanted to share that with you. And my story actually starts a bit with my dad.
Yes.
We just saw the movie Thor.
Oh, all right.
And it was, I didn't really want to see it at first, but he's like, no, you really will love seeing this movie. You got to see it.
And did you?
I did, and I was exhilarated. And if you
Why?
guys, because I saw these different beings,
Yes.
in the galaxy, other races, and I felt such a connection to them, and I wish I was there with them, acting
Oh, all
out
right.
the different.
Does that mean you're also going to go see the latest movie entertainment that also deals with other beings in the galaxy?
There's one that I do plan to go see. It's the
Is it the color green?
Green Lantern,
All
yes.
right.
And I did have a question about that.
Yes.
There's been talk that, as open contact becomes more open,
Yes.
that society will start showing more of what other races look like. Is that right? Not right, but
Do you mean will your depictions in your science fiction stories become more accurately representative of
Yes.
some of the races that exist?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. And does that movie reflect that?
Some.
Some. Okay.
Now, again, remember, anything you can imagine is real because you cannot
Right.
imagine non-existence. But when I say some, I mean some that are relevant to anything that you could experience as being somewhat similar to your understanding of reality. All of them
Okay.
are real in their own context, but may not be relevant to your dimension of experience. But some actually are.
Okay. Thank you. So when I was watching the movie Thor, I felt like I wanted to be there, and I was kind of meditating on that later on after the movie, and my inner guidance told me, because I was asking, well, why am I not there if
You
I
are.
like it so much?
You are. You are not, but you
Right.
are.
Right. And I received that. Well, that is part of you. That is
Yes,
you. And
that's why you resonate to it.
Right. And you're on Earth to bring that here
Yes.
as an emanation.
Yes.
So I
you're the
was-
conduit, you're the valve
Yeah.
through which you can bring that energy down to earth and give off a vibration that will allow choices to be made that are in alignment with that frequency.
Yes. So I was very happy.
That's
with
why you have these kinds of stories. That's why one of the most powerful storytelling tools you have is movies, because it really gives you an interactive experience. And what you
Right.
call theme parks. It gives you an interactive experience of story. And thus it sinks in because you're actually viscerally there in the vibration and together, unified in many ways.
I feel that a lot. And
Yes.
the next
Now,
part of
we
the
wish
story,
to also point out a very interesting
Yes.
polarity happening at this time with respect to these kinds of stories that involve what you call extraterrestrial beings, because in this moment right now, you actually have presented at the same time a completely polarized idea of this notion in your entertainment. You have the idea we have just discussed of a story that involves the idea of what you would call an interstellar peacekeeping corps of extraterrestrials, and at the same time you are also premiering
The Transformers movie.
that and also another one called
Cowboy.
Falling Skies, where your world is dominated by extraterrestrials on your television
I did see
sets. So you have presented the polarity for yourself so that you can explore and play with the idea of both sides simultaneously. You're bringing these creations closer and closer and closer to the center point so that you can really experience the balance of the dark and the light, the balance of the negative and the positive, and really decide what you prefer by exploring these stories so close to each other, on top of each other even. Good timing.
Yeah. Thank you for expanding on that. I remember the first time I heard you speak of the EIL, the Shalanaya.
Yes.
And all the senses in my being just perked up.
All right.
And I got goosebumps.
They are
And
part of your story.
yes,
you are
they
part of theirs.
are. They are. And I have
They are one of the other hybrid races, the first one that will contact your world for those asking the question in their minds, what's a Shalanaya?
And I got goosebumps, and I never get goosebumps that I remember except for when I'm cold. And so I thought, I always heard people talk about getting goosebumps, but I've never got them. And then so when I got them, I was like,
Well, now I
whoa.
can't say that anymore.
I know, right? I can't say that anymore. And I was like, wow, that is true. And as I listened to it,
Yes.
the goosebumps just, they were like waves. They just continued to like electrify me.
Yes.
And
Do you understand fundamentally what that effect is you call goosebumps?
I don't know.
The idea is that they will be constrictions around the hair follicles that will allow the hair follicles to rise up and become more receptive antennas to that energy.
Oh, wow. That's neat.
Yes.
Thank you for expanding on that. And so as I continued to listen to that, I just closed my eyes and I got a sense as if I was there with them. Even now, like I feel like I can
Yes.
tap into them.
Yes, you can.
And there's been certain occurrences and instances, one is being all of the month of May, I saw these clouds over Mount Baldy, that's close to where I live, that I've never seen like that ever before. They look like the ones on Mount Shasta.
Yes.
And they were over Mount Baldy, the range,
Yes.
and the whole month of May. I haven't seen them June, but I just thought, wow, that is so amazing. I felt like that was their presence showing themselves.
Well, in a
here.
sense, it is more the idea of your collective consciousness creating symbolic representations of what you are becoming more and more aware of, and in a sense, preparing yourselves for something more solid. You're using your own weather, you're using your own clouds to create shapes to represent what you will actually ultimately see in physical form.
Okay.
You're preparing yourselves
And I
for
felt,
contact with those forms. They're like placeholders
and
because you are changing your weather.
right. I was wondering if you could tell a bit of a story of maybe some of the things you know that the Shalanaya or the IL would like for us to know at this time where we're at on Earth, and how we can be more open to
All right.
them. And how,
Water is very important. The more you allow yourself to allow crystallization, purification, higher resonance energies to, in that sense, interact with the structure of the water that you drink, the more you will aid and assist in the clarification of your bodily systems and the increasing of the silicon in your systems to make you more receptive to our frequencies, more receptive to our communications, so that you may receive those communications and the beginning of dialogues that will lay down the foundations and lay down the paths of our eventual contact. Water is key.
Thank you.
That is the message from them.
I heard them. Thank you. I was wondering if you could share some knowledge on the different visuals of some of the extraterrestrial races, such as the Palladians, the Arcturians, the Syrians, and the Argarthians. Do they look similar?
Pleiadians, in that sense, are genetically connected to you. You are like long-lost cousins. So in that sense, they are very humaniform. The idea of the physical race in the star system of Sirius is that which has been described as somewhat amphibious, in that sense, somewhat salamanderish. The idea of the non-physical consciousness connected to Sirius is, of course, non-physical. The idea of Arcturus energy in that sense is also a non-physical consciousness that does not have form in the way you would understand it, but is represented by the idea of the glowing orange orbs that many of you have seen.
Oh, okay.
What you are referring to as a Garthan in that sense is actually known by another frequency altogether that is very ancient, and they do not share the idea of physical form as you know it. There are other races that you will encounter eventually in time that are not like your species at all. We have from time to time described some of these. We will not really go into the list right now, but will at what you call a future time focus on the idea of a transmission that describes many of these races.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the sharing of your story.
Thank you. I have some more, if that's okay. It's
Your
okay.
story has an epilogue.
Yes, yes.
Make it brief.
Okay. I've heard you speak of the span between 2010 and 2015 and the sensing of energy at that moment.
Yes, the splitting prism.
And can you speak a little more on the splitting prism and where the energy on Earth is at this sensing of the energy?
The trains are already leaving the station. The tracks are getting slightly farther and farther apart. Be on the train you wish to be on before you can never reach the other track.
Right.
That's all we will say for now.
Okay.
Take everything we have said in the transmission over the course of what you call these 3 days and apply it to decide and choose what story you will be, what track you will be on.
Thank you. I am.
All right. Thank you.